And cool. And we are live. What's up, everyone? This is the Law Mundo, and I'm back with another edition of the Laws Roundtable. This is episode 11, and I am joined by the UltraViolent Beast himself, a legend in person right here, Masada. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Doing good today.
Awesome. So thanks again for joining me, man. This is amazing to be able to speak to you like this. Not the actual first time we've spoken, though. It actually was, I want to say, around 3 years ago at a BCW show. First time we actually got to meet. And even then, I was like, I had to pick your brain a bit because I've watched you, I want to say, since like TOD 2012.
Oh, wow. Long time.
Yeah. So it's been a while, but awesome. Yeah. It should be fun. So I have to ask, just to start this up, is how is everything? How's everything been? We're still in this mixed of crazy scenario here. So how are you doing?
As far as like the pandemic goes, things like in Texas are kind of like back to normal. You know what I mean? They reopened the state. So, I mean, it's, as far as I can tell, it's pretty much normal. You know, I actually just took a COVID test like 2 days ago just to check, make sure, just out of the blue, because you can be asymptomatic and not even know, but came up negative, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, so that's great.
I mean, everything here is pretty much back to normal. Everything's up and running. Thank God. How are things in New York?
It's like a day-to-day thing. Certain days numbers are lower, certain days numbers just seem to keep skyrocketing. And it's like 1 minute we're open, next minute it's back to everything's like going back to what it was. So it's like, as far as wrestling wise, we're kind of opening up again with everything with the vaccine mandate and everything like that. So it's somewhat getting at least back to normal in that sense.
Right. I saw something on Instagram, I think it was yesterday, that Hog Wrestling has a show coming up, which is great. And like they're advertising in Times Square.
Yeah, they had
a huge poster with Amazing Red, which is awesome.
Yeah, there was a whole billboard yesterday. And that's showing like for a company like that again, it's been basically brought from the ground up for them to be able to start again. It's like, okay, this is a good sign, at least for the New York indies and such.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then AEW was just in New York too.
Yeah, that was, and again, that's 20,000 people right there. I couldn't believe like that. Again, it shows it like we're kind of getting back to somewhat normal.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, got to get back to normal.
Yeah, sooner or later.
Your craziness is like, oh crap, this sucks. Like bad. Like sucks really bad.
Definitely does, definitely. But have you been watching like the indies right now? How everything is starting up again. I feel like we're finally getting into like shows like GCW running more, Hogs coming back, places like that. Have you been keeping your eye on that, or?
I mean, for the time, like when the pandemic first started, I didn't really watch any wrestling. You know, I just kind of focused on my business and just making weapons, funny enough. But, you know, gradually, because like I had like literally my whole year like booked out. After Hog, when I wrestled Low-Key, I had my whole schedule planned out. And then all of a sudden you hear that COVID's coming, and it's like gradually just like everything started like getting canceled. So I was like, dang it, you know.
Like, that was actually, that show was the last one I actually was able to work with too. That I was at that show when you wrestled Low-Key, and it was like from there it's like, that's when it just sit in like, as this is happening.
yeah, exactly. It was crazy because man, I had bookings for Detroit, Georgia, Florida, back in Philly, New York, and then Tijuana, Mexico, and then Mexico City. And then I had in the workings going to Australia.
Ooh.
And it's crazy because you know, a few wrestlers I heard when COVID hit, like they actually got stuck in Australia because of the pandemic or whatnot. But yeah, it was crazy because everything just started getting like, you know, canceled here, canceled there. I was like, oh damn it. So you know, it sucks.
No, again, at least like we said, it's a good sign of things are starting to open back up. So I can imagine there's going to be the promoters calling, hey, we want to get you here, we want to get you here.
Yeah, and that's actually what's going on right now is I'm going back to Tijuana for the Crash, going back to the Crash.
That's awesome.
Excited about that. That'll be October 8th. And then IW Mid-South, I'm going to be back there. Was it September 30th and October 1st? It's towards the end. It's coming pretty soon. And then things, what else do I have? then XPW in Rochester, New York, and then just got confirmed for Excite in Birmingham, New York. So I'll be your neck of the woods pretty soon here.
I see. I guess I'm gonna have to check out one of these shows to see you in person again, because it's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. Like, it's crazy. It's been over a year. It's like easily way over a year.
Yeah, and it's crazy though how time is flying again. Like, I guess indie wrestling, it's shown that's like it can survive anything, because it's done that same boom. Because I feel like when the pandemic hit, it was at that course of like becoming like that mid 2000s indies again. Like, it was everyone's talking about independent wrestling, especially with AEW showing up. It was like everyone's focused on, okay, there's a whole other crop of talent that people aren't watching like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, now we're kicking back up again. It's again last night, Homicide and Minoru Suzuki tore the house down here in Queens. And it's like people are into it again. They're crazy about it. That's great to hear. They're gonna have some busy time too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I've watched a bit of AEW, and I think it's cool what they're doing. It's like they're actually taking wrestlers and then put them against guys you would not expect. Like, when they brought in Nick Gage to wrestle Jericho, it's like you would never guess that or even thought that would happen in a million years. And you got a huge pop, you know what I mean? So there's definitely a fan base, you know, and it's cool that they're giving people the opportunity, you know, because a lot of people in Connecticut would be like, no, like, you know, get them out of our building, like security, you know what I mean?
No, and it definitely, again, that's what I like about it. That's like, again, Gage has killed it this last year alone. I feel like between him and RSP, they've made even deathmatch wrestling again, like, into a big thing. AEW put a platform like, hey, we'll do our version of it, because again, they can't go to the full extent either, but they still showcased amazing talent right there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree with you 100%.
No. Which, speaking of which, I was going to ask you, especially your thoughts on that, like that growth, even this last year in the pandemic, there was still a lot more interest into the deathmatch world. So your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's like people, I think when you don't have anything to do and people want to get entertained, and then they start opening like their eyes and different revenues of what's going to entertain them, they'll start finding things and like, oh crap, that's crazy. A lot of people that didn't have anything to do because they're, you know, quarantined at home, search YouTube, like, and then like find out about deathmatch wrestling if they don't know. And I think Dark Side of the Ring has opened a lot of people's eyes on a lot of things as well. Especially like the new season that's coming out now. I think the next episode is about FMW.
Yeah,
which should be really interesting. So I think that opens a lot of eyes, you know. And when people are sitting at home, you got nothing to do, so you just watch old matches. Like,
definitely. No, and I feel like it's the best thing for it, because I feel like, again, it has its niche audience, but I feel like, especially if you give it a chance, there's something to find there. Like, I've been a student of the game. I enjoy all kinds of wrestling. And when I see that, I'm like, it's insane to watch, but it's like, you can't help but look at it. Like, you want to be like, that's crazy, but I can't stop watching.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I kind of wish things like with deathmatch wrestling would go back in like to like the 70s and the 80s, where it's more or less, it wasn't considered a style. It's more or less like a heated rivalry. Like, I really hate this guy, so I want to like cut his face open.
Yeah.
But now it's more or less like it's, you know, it's its own style. It's its own thing. No. But I kind of wish it would go back to the way it was back in the days.
No, definitely. And I feel like I guess that's where some companies will be like, oh, they've made their revenue out of it, just being like every other match is a death match now. But it's like, I do enjoy that factor of when it meant more having the story behind it. Like,
yeah.
There's a reason for this. Like, okay, we got these two guys. They've done their singles. They've done their fights. And it's like, there's a reason for something like this to happen. That's like, okay, fight to the death in a sense.
Yeah. And honestly, that makes it better for the wrestler to get more motivated, you know, because you know, there's been times I've been on tournaments and it's like, what? You got me in like 300 light tubes? Why? And I don't even know this guy. Like, okay, so let me just go rip through them. But it's like, it really doesn't make any sense. But, you know, each its own. People like to get popped. And like I said, the storytelling is way better, in my opinion. It'd be a better thing. And I do have to say this, like going back with like AEW, I told Colt Cabana this a long time ago. It's like when they did WrestleCon in New Jersey.
Yeah.
packed house. And I told him, I was like, if everybody could work together, WWE would get put under. And then that's what you see now. Like all top indie guys and veterans of the game are all coming together. And it's like now WWE's ratings are dropping down. Impact is down. So, I mean, that's actually the most exciting thing to watch. I just watched Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega kill it. And that was the first match on the show. Like, that's insane, man. But it's very cool to watch.
No, definitely. And I feel like that's something everyone has talked about, the chance of, again, that's what independent wrestling is. It's like you get to see people from around the world compete, and doing that on a big stage like AEW, it's like it means a lot more, because now it's like there's eyes on it like crazy. Again, they took the risk of putting a pay-per-view match like that, like Kenny and Bryan Danielson, and open the show with it. And I feel like that they put out numbers, and I'm like, it just shows you it works. Letting people get these matches that, again, we could never think, guys from all around the world, they're bringing in luchadors, they're bringing in guys from Japan, all that. It's like, it's proven to work. And this is, again, to the guys in Connecticut, they're probably like, we probably should have tried that first.
Well, and another thing too is when you watch it, it's like they're actually working with other companies. So they give, Impact, their credit. They give New Japan credit. I think AAA, like, so, I mean, that's cool. You know what I mean? You can't, WWE, in my opinion, has always tried to like wipe everybody off where they don't exist in wrestling. And it's just the WWE universe, which, I mean, it's so far from the truth, It's kind of discrediting to other people that like busted their ass and paid their dues and, help pay the way. But, like I said, AEW is good. Everything they're doing is awesome, in my opinion. Everybody's working together. That's really good. It's always good to see that.
No, definitely. And again, it's great to see even what they do with Dark. It's like, again, to see guys like even Matthew Justice on there, guys like that are getting opportunities that's like probably wouldn't see in a place like that in the E, because they'll usually maybe throw them a match that's like, a one-off on SmackDown. With this, it's like you're actually getting YouTube time. That's a whole other audience of millions of viewers right there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I give credit to like the Young Bucks and everybody else that's like behind the scenes of like they know the fan base, they know what people are watching, and they're not stuck back in like I went back in time where it was like death matches, but it's like they're not stuck in the 80s of like, the formula. It's the exact same thing, and it only goes so far, And then when word starts getting out how people get treated in the company, and it's not good. I don't know if you watch Chris Kanyon, Dark Side of the Ring, but the things he went through, and it's like, John Cena's trying to say like, no, he came out, after he got fired, but then it's like, why would they have him do that thing with the Undertaker? Like, why? Like, so I mean, it's not cool. Like, that's not good at all.
No. And again, it sucks because it's like I feel like you're in that place when you're in that place as well. It's that catch-22. Like, I want to keep my job, but you also have to have your morals at least to know, hey, this isn't right either. So it's that you're in the middle of like, what do I do here?
Yeah. Which, again, and that's the thing with like Chris Kanyon. It's like when I did my dark match, I had a dark match in Houston. Against Jeremy Lopez, and like he gave really good advice. He was super cool, like approachable, and he made sure to take the time to critique everybody's matches. And I thought that was really cool, especially as being a veteran. It's a shame.
Really is. And again, that episode, I feel like it's definitely Dark Side has opened the eyes to a lot of things for people to see that, hey, maybe unless you've heard from others, it's like you don't really hear about these things, and it makes you think a lot now.
Yeah, I mean, that's like definitely, that's one of the things that's always like kept kayfabe, is just like all the stuff that goes backstage and how people get treated. And that's like the thing with me, it's like, not trying to toot my own horn, but I've always been vocal of like things. If I don't like something, I'll blast it. I've always done that, where it's like, you're not going to treat me like crap. And like, I'm here bleeding for you. So you fill your pockets, like, and then like, I get something on the back end, but a lot of stuff I just won't put up with, that's just me. That's how I've always been. Some people respect it. Some people don't like that, but hey, whatever.
No, definitely. I definitely do. And again, I've been lucky to be in wrestling maybe now 4 years, going on 5. And it's like I try to respect everyone, show that due diligence, but it's like certain times you have to be like, I don't like this. Like I have to put that stomp there, like, nah, this isn't what we signed up to do or to be a part of.
That's like you said earlier. It's like, you know, you got to stick with your morals and like, you know, I mean, just your core of who you are as a person. You know, you can't let people tear you down.
Definitely.
That's another thing too. Is like I just saw Loki in Houston last weekend at Local Wrestling, and he has always kept like wrestling true and has stayed true to his character and has never let anybody screw him over. You know, so some people might not like it, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's like you go out and fight on the street, he's gonna kick your ass. So like you're not gonna tell.
Definitely. I feel like that's why he gets the rap of like being difficult to work with. I'm just like, I've gotten to be around him a few times. He seems cool to me. He just he knows what he wants.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if you tell him something stupid, he's gonna give you a stupid answer and like probably get a roundhouse kick to the head. You know, that's your fault for being dumb, you know.
Yeah, definitely. But from there, I got also to move away from wrestling for a little bit. I wanted to ask you about Exiled Artifacts, because I see that's something you definitely promote a lot on your end. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? What is that? And
so the thing is, like with Exiled Artifacts, like I've actually been making crafts and like jewelry and like weapons like since I was 14, before I even got in wrestling.
Oh wow.
And one of the things I always wanted to do is actually have a storefront and like just make custom things from like all over the world, you know, because like traveling like Japan and like you get to see so many different crafts and different levels of like weapon making, and then different things in Europe and say New Zealand, Australia. So I always like looking at things from different cultures, and then it's like, hey, I think I can make that, you know, and then that's what I do. So if anybody messages me and they have something in mind, and I'll draw it up and like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and I'll make it custom, handmade, you know, right here. I'm actually in my shop right now, so, and that's what I do, you know, from skulls, like all kinds of crazy stuff.
Interesting.
It's just something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, I definitely put the link down below to that if you guys want to check that out. I was looking at it earlier. I'm like, this is some crazy things that look amazing though. It's like even the weaponry, it's like, okay, I like the design of it. Like it's the outlook.
I mean, and then some of the stuff, I mean, you've actually seen like in Ring of Honor and New Japan.
Yeah.
Like the trench knife that I make with a bone handle, that's actually in John Moxley's debut intro video.
Oh wow.
To New Japan. And then you have Ray Rowe and his tag team partner, the gauntlet leather shoulder pieces. I made that for them.
Oh wow.
So,
there you go, guys.
Little Easter eggs, I guess. You know.
Hey, that has to be great to see. Again, you're something that you put your love and into all that. It's like it has to be great to see in places like that. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Hey, that's a part of me there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's awesome.
Awesome. But also, I guess that also transitions into, is that love for those creating those type of weaponry and stuff like that? Is that what brought you into, I guess, the deathmatch scene? Like wanting to use that type of stuff in wrestling?
No, I mean, the thing is, like when I got into wrestling, like I was a fan of wrestling when I was 5, you know, because, you know, it's crazy because like, you know, I'm in kindergarten, you know, and as soon as I get out of school, ESPN used to show everything.
Yep.
They used to show Old Mid-South, Global, AWA. So I got to watch it every day. It's like literally at 3 p.m. it would be pro wrestling, and it would be American kickboxing. So I always watched that. And at age 11, I got into Taekwondo and started doing martial arts. And I knew at age 5 I wanted to be a wrestler, but gradually I kind of grew out of it after, you know, I guess you could say the territories like shut down. Yep. I didn't have cable to watch WWF or WCW. I knew what they were, but I couldn't watch them. So I gradually grew out of it and started doing martial arts. And then some friends of mine actually were big wrestling fans. They still watched it. And then they told me about ECW. And I was like, well, what's that? And they're like, Extreme Championship Wrestling. And showed me Sabu and like, you know, Terry Funk, which I remember Terry from back in the day. And it's like, holy crap, you know, the wrestling barbed wire, that's insane. Because originally I was like, screw it, I'm going to go fight in a cage. I'm going to do like UFC because it's an open tournament.
Yeah.
But I mean, gradually things have changed.
Yeah.
But, you know, that kind of instilled my love back into wrestling. So, you know, from like age 14, I stopped doing martial arts and then I was just looking to find a school. And then finally I found the school in Orange, Texas. Started training when I was 17 and shortly debuted after that in 1999. So to go back into hardcore style things, like hardcore wrestling was really popular in that time period. And then I could wrestle and do lucha libre and technical wrestle. And I was doing that when I went into Ring of Honor and when I worked for NWA Wildside, the trials for WWE, Major League Wrestling, and TNA. But the thing is, with me, it's like it becomes so political where you have everybody, like not just one guy, but like say like 30 to 40 people trying to get jobs in these companies overseas. And it's either 01, All Japan, Noah, or New Japan. So if everybody's trying to cut each other's throats to get to these companies, well, I'm the opposite way, and I'm going to go to Big Japan because nobody wants to go there because they don't want to get cut off. And just being like, hey, I don't care. Like, you know, I was a big fan of FMW. So FMW shut down, so Big Japan's the next option. So that's where I went. So, yeah, that's kind of like, you know, where I made my niche. You know, it's like I'd done tryouts with WWE and I was doing the indies, but I really wasn't making that much money. You know, there were some events I wasn't getting paid at all. But when I went to Japan, it's like, holy crap, it's like I got a full schedule. I have a guaranteed pay of what they're going to pay me. It's like, okay, I can make a living off of this. So I did 3 months over in Big Japan and I came back, went back to WWE for tryouts, and I didn't get a match on either one of the shows. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going back to Japan and I'm going to focus on that. You know?
No, I can imagine. It's like, it's a guarantee in a sense there. Like you got something cool. Set up already.
Yeah, it's cool because I mean, it's like a few years back I wrestled with Sabu and I told him, I was like, you know, I emulated my career off of you. And the first thing he said is like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, no, it's cool. I mean, I got to see the world, but I think the thing that kind of sucks is when you do like death matches, you get, you know, pigeonholed and like everybody just assumes that's what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'd rather do regular matches. A lot of guys that are in AEW and NXT and WWE, I've worked with them, you know, and just straight up matches. A lot of matches in Combat Zone, but for whatever reason, you know, CCW's just never put those matches out. It's like you got to buy the DVD to watch me wrestle Adam Cole or AR Fox or, you know, really anybody, Homicide, you know, unless you've seen them, you don't really know, but you just see the blood and guts.
which is crazy to think, because again, like I feel like that's the biggest the thing with deathmatch wrestling or wrestlers that they kind of pigeonhole you guys into that's it. But it's like again, if you've seen independent wrestling, if you've gone to shows, you get to see matches that's like they can go just like anyone else. Like I've seen, I want to say clips of it. I didn't get to see the full match of one time you wrestling AR Fox. And it's like, again, it's straight up match. There's nothing else to it. And it's like, even your match with Loki, I want to say at the last one at Hog, it wasn't too crazy from just a match in a sense.
Yeah. It's
Loki,
just a big man, little man match, you know, and those are the matches I really enjoy doing, you know, even with deathmatch wrestling, I like being creative and like figuring things out and like make sense of them. You know, I just don't like going out there and bashing stuff over each other's heads. There's no talent in that. But yeah, for sure. It's like you get typecast into things. I mean, even when I wrestled like Kevin Steen and beyond, it's like it was just straight up wrestling match. And towards the finish, when I pulled the skewers out, the only reason I did that is because like he's kicking my ass. He's at 100%. My right knee at that time was blown out. So like blown out. So it's like, well, what makes sense here? If he's trying to stretch my knee, I'm tapping out. Even as a CCW world champion, a lot of people gave me crap for that. It's like, oh, you shouldn't have tapped out. It's like, but he's on top of his game. So, and I'm going down because I need to heal my knee up. But anyway, pulling the skewers out was just try to equalize things to win.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's the psychology.
And that's the perfect thing because it makes sense there. It's like you're telling that story of like, I got to even it up somehow. I'm already at a banged up. I'm one-legged in a sense. He's perfect right now. Okay, time to even up the odds.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I even had to explain that to DJ because he was like, you know, you're the CCW world champ. You've had the title for almost 2 years now. I was like, you have a DJ. He's on top. He's 100%. Everybody knows my knee's blown out. It makes more sense. And in the following match, like in CCW, I'm losing the belt anyway. So it makes even more sense. Like,
was that it's a perfect story right there. Sadly, it's like the fall right there, and then you can come back up and make
yeah,
it
and
up again.
the thing that sucks is like I was supposed to hold the title for even longer, you know, and that was the plan. And then when I had the belt, I was actually defending it in Mexico and just straight up wrestling matches.
Yeah.
In England, I was actually doing like hour-long Broadway matches, just straight up technical wrestling.
Oh wow.
If you look at Fight Club Pro, it's like you can find those matches. But I think it's kind of funny, just to me, it's like if you look up Masada wrestling, you'll see me against Maven and WWE Heat. And then all of a sudden the wrestler will just be like, what the hell? Like what happened in his career that made him do that? Like,
Which it's crazy though, because again, you're bringing up like you wrestled in the UK, you're wrestling in Mexico. It's like these are some big things to just like, oh, we're passing through.
yeah,
Like
right.
how do you get that? That's like I get the Japan, it's a big Japan. It's like that's a goal right there. How do we get
Yeah.
to the UK opportunity? How do we get to Mexico just
Well, the
throughout?
crazy thing is, so like what happened, like, so when I was wrestling full time in Japan,
Yeah.
WXW had messaged me from Germany and they wanted me to come in. And at that point in time, like the economy took a hit. So they were doing less shows in Japan. I was like, man, you know, it's expensive to live out here. And if there's doing less shows and you know, I got to start going back, you know, either
Yeah.
back to the States or go to Europe where the currency is stronger, you know. So what ended up happening is I ended up Ian Rodden had actually messaged me about coming in, try to be Mid-South King of the Deaf. So went and worked with him, and he had already worked with Felix with WXW and sent guys out there.
Okay.
So gradually after I did the tournament for him, I went to Germany and I was like, I think I did 2 shows in one day and made really good money. I was like, okay, this is what I miss, you know, like this is what Japan needs to get back to.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is I ended up having to fall out with like Big Japan. I ended up leaving the company like 2 times because I just didn't like how I was being treated and just the way things were going. And then I focused back on the United States. And then Freedoms with Jun Kasai and Sasaki Takashi, they really liked my work and they liked me as a person. So then they brought me back overseas into Freedoms.
Okay.
And then gradually I went back to Big Japan, which the funny thing is with WXW and CCW at this point in time, in between the middle, I actually started working for Combat Zone and worked for them for a while and actually got WXW, Combat Zone, and Big Japan start working together. So I was a big player in that happening. You know, didn't get a lot of credit on that, so I got pissed off and I started speaking my mind and told DJs like, "Hey, put this out," because I've helped a lot of these guys out.
Yeah.
And he was taking all the credit, and then finally he did. You know.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, wait,
6
so
months
that's
after the 6
that's a
months
big
after
deal
the
right
fact.
there.
Yeah, like 6 months after the fact, prick, you know, but it's whatever. But what ended up happening, so to go to the UK, it's like I actually went there as a kind of like a break time. I went there to Germany for WXW.
Yeah.
Did a week there, and then they had a layoff period of time, and then I filled that time period out in England for a month, and then came back to Germany for 2 weeks. Then from there, went to New Jersey, wrestled there, flew back to Texas, was only in Texas for like 2 hours, and then flew to Japan for a month. So it's crazy. I was just telling my wife last night, it's like I was a big fan of Street Fighter 2, and it's like back in those days, like I felt like I was like the airplane. It's like it's going from like country, state to state. Like, you know, it's kind of how it was.
So
Which was cool.
That's amazing right there. That's crazy. So from there, how do we get to Mexico? Because I've definitely seen you've gotten crazy with the crash and with that. How'd you get into that lucha libre? Because I heard earlier when you were talking about the style you wrestled, you could wrestle that too. How'd you become a fan of that?
Well, that's the thing. It's like before, you know, before I even started training to wrestle, like I always watched everything. I watched Japan wrestling, old school wrestling from the South, the Northeast, to Lucha Libre, AAA, CMLL. Like back in the day, I used to love watching CMLL. Like I really liked the product and like the match setups and what they did. But the funny thing is, like living in Texas, like you hear everything going on at the border with the cartels and like how you get treated as a foreigner there, and it's really dangerous. So for the longest time, I didn't want to work there. And then finally, Chalenga Mask, they kept messaging me. He's like, "Why don't you bring you down to Mexico City?" I was like, "Well, is it safe?" Because I hear what's going on. I got family. I was living in New Jersey at the time, but I hear from my family what's going on over there. It's like, yeah, you'll be okay. You'll be safe. I'm like, all right. So went to Chilanga. And the funny thing is, I became friends before any of this with Bestia,
Oh, okay.
666.
Yeah.
When I wrestled for UWF in New York, we became friends. And he was always like, yeah, you need to come to Mexico. And I was like, yeah, sure. Okay. Like, had no intentions of going. But then finally I was like, Mexico's got a market there. And it's like, it's time to go. So went and worked for Chilanga and then a few other promotions, and then gradually went into the Crash. And the Crash is awesome. And then it took a period of time where I didn't get booked for a while with them. They had given me dates, and then it just kind of fell through. And then Conan, of all people, like messaged me out of the blue. He's like, hey, I want you to come in for AAA, and I got TV and whatnot. So I went to Tijuana, and at that period of time, the Crash was trying to rebook me back in.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I already told Conan I was going to do this date before y'all reached out to me. So I can't just cancel the date with him because y'all are offering me more. Just a man of my word. So I ended up doing that, and took a hiatus from the Crash, but now I'm back. It's business. And funny thing is, Conan's back in the Crash now.
I was gonna say, well, that's kind of funny how it worked, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's just wrestling. Wrestling's crazy. It's like people will have heat with each other, and it's like, yeah, my pockets are kind of empty. Want to be friends again and make money? You know what I mean? It's kind of how it goes.
Definitely.
And I told Bessie that too, this past time in Houston. I was like, man, no hard feelings. I don't really care because I get the business sides of everybody still, and it's like I got a family and I got to pay my bills. That's where my mind's at.
Hey, that's the biggest thing. End of the day, so
Yeah.
That's awesome though. And again, it's gotten you some great opportunities.
Yeah, and I do have to say this. The thing with Mexico is all the veteran wrestlers like LA Park and Psychosis, and oh man, there's just so many. Even Conan, Damien 666. They're all great guys, and they're professional and they stay true to the business. And I think a lot of things the United States lack in that, of keeping your presence and keeping your character base protected and just staying strong. But I love wrestling in Mexico. It's awesome. It reminds me a lot of Japan, where they keep traditions alive and different things.
No, definitely. And I think that's why, I'm definitely a big fan in the lucha libre culture and that style, because it definitely, it's such an art form over there, and the storytelling, it's not matched. I would love for that to transition a little more over here to American wrestling, but maybe one day. Again, certain things are starting to get brought over, so maybe. Hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is that's crazy. It's this goes international. It's if you look at Japanese veteran wrestlers, a lot of them have bad backs, bad knees. They take some hellacious bumps, and then you look at the luchadors where you watch that style of wrestling. It's these guys are flipping off fucking buildings, but they're still moving. They're still able to work. I wrestled at LA Park few years back, and it's you wouldn't even think it, but he's in his 50s, and it's dude, you're still flying around back in the day when I watched you in WCW as a kid. And I made him feel old, but it's hey, sorry, but I'm still in awe of that, because you're awesome, you know what I mean?
No, to bring it back, we spoke about earlier, even Hoovy was on AEW the other day, and it's Hoovy looks younger than he did then.
Yeah, it's the guy never they don't age.
Maybe that's the secret.
I'm Caucasian, and it's I age like hell. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's the secret. They usually say don't drink the water. That's what's keeping them young. That's why they don't want anyone to drink the water.
I guess so, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But with everything you've done, going back into, I guess, the modern day right now, is there anyone you're looking at oh, I wanna face that guy. I want to go here. What's on that list of yours?
I mean, the thing is, there's a ton of guys I want to work with. At some point in time, I really like to work with Moxley, because the funny thing is, it's when I was in CZW, I was supposed to wrestle him for the title, and then he got signed, and Mox is super cool, and it's just one of those, I think, more or less a dream match for fans to see that finally happen.
Definitely.
So many years of holy crap, what are they going to do? Because Mox can work, Masada can work, and they both do death matches. So that'd be pretty intense. A guy too that I've been wanting to work with is Jeff Cobb. You know, I got to work with him a little bit in Inspire Pro in Austin, but I always wanted to do a one-on-one, but it just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
I think realistically it's just anybody that's like on top of their game, you know, that's who I want to be in the ring with. You know. And I'll still do death matches, but I want to more or less like focus on guys that are in the mainstream. Because I feel like in a lot of ways it's like I've worked with so many of them, so it's kind of like I want to get into the mainstream. Like I've had a little taste of it back in the early like 2000s, and now it's kind of like 23 years of wrestling, and it's kind of like I should be somewhere on that page, you know.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I've joked around, I've said this before in other podcasts, like, man, like 20, 30 years from now, I better be in somebody's like WWE wrestling book. Cause like I've worked with a lot of these guys and I helped a lot of them out, especially overseas in Japan where they didn't speak the language, and like living there for 8 years, like I knew how to take care of things and translate over their matches to the Japanese talent. So it's cool. You know, you have guys that pay respect, you know, Tommy Yen is one of them, you know, Malachi Black, you know, he's like, if
okay.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, like I said, just to work with top guys, even low key, you know, get to work with him finally. It's like it was awesome, you know, because first time I ever saw him in Ring of Honor, the first show, I was a huge fan. It's like, whoa, like he's awesome, you know.
No, I could definitely see that. And again, even with Mox, that would be amazing just to see you guys work, even if it's a just straight up match. Like I feel like that would be cool to see, because I feel like even Mox's style, though he works just regular matches, it's still a fight. So I feel like you and him could definitely pull out an amazing match, and should happen anywhere. That's a dream match right there.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, like even in CZW, DJ was like, who do you want to work with? It was like Mox. And they're like, same thing. He agreed. He's like, yeah, I want to work with Masada. And like, you know, it didn't happen, but it's okay. You know what I mean? So you got to make your money.
We're at the time now that anything can happen.
Yeah,
like I said, last night, a match that who would have thought could happen, Suzuki and Homicide just happened. So crazier things are starting to happen now. And I feel like that's the best thing about indie wrestling. It's like any minute that door can open again.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the cool thing is that everybody's got their strong fan bases. They follow what everybody's doing, you know.
Which is
that's kind of one of the things that Nick Gage, he had told me a Game Changer in Florida. He's like, I think people forgot who you are. And I was like, because of the pandemic? He's like, yeah, because you just haven't been wrestling that much. And I was like, well, I mean, all my shows got canceled. Like, what am I supposed to do, man? Like, and then like I stopped being on social media as much. You know, I started posting things like my wife and my family, and you know, focus on things that make me really happy.
No, and I feel like it's I guess in that sense, it's the maybe at the moment, what have you done late? But it's like that fan base is always going to be there. Again, like when I did the intro, to a lot of us, you're a legend in this business. You've done some amazing things. Like we spoke about that tenure of just everywhere you've gone. It's like, especially in my area in the tri-state, again, everyone's gotten to see you in places like CZW and ICW and stuff like that. It's like the name Masada still resonates here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, you know, I always love wrestling New York and like Philly. The Northeast, the East Coast is like awesome. You know what I mean? That was always like my thing when leaving Ring of Honor to go to Big Japan. My main goal was to always go back to the Northeast. And I didn't care what company it was for. It's just to get back there. Because the fans are awesome. You know, it's like the crowd reaction and just like it's really super cool. Like they get into everything. And, you know, you can do shows like in certain states where people just are like, huh? It's like, why'd you buy a ticket if you're not even a fan? You know what I mean? Like, what is this? But hey, whatever.
No, I got you. No, and again, it's I guess to each their own in that sense. That's like if they're in it, if they're not, but definitely there's a lot more people that are in it that are again interested in seeing you again. Speaking of which, with that Northeast, the rumblings now of CZW coming back, would that be something you're interested in, or?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I've actually messaged DJ, I'm gonna say a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, how are things going with pandemic?" Because I know he got hit really hard.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I'm just trying to work on things and get things back in order." Yeah, I'm always interested in going back. You know, it's just, can things get back to the way they were with like half the talent roster's not there.
Yeah.
And the past two times I've went, it was like completely different locker rooms. Like I didn't a lot of these guys, so that was kind of weird. It's like the Twilight Zone. I was like, what? This is CZW? Like it's different.
Yeah. I think
And
the
then,
last show I went to was their last Cage of Death, and it felt different, like how it's been.
yeah. And the thing is, like, I'll go to Game Changer shows, and it's like, okay, I know everybody here. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah. And we all have our stories of like, you know, why people leave and, you know, do their other things. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely interested in going back. If he gets something running back, you know, I've always been loyal to people. You know, that's it's a good thing, but it's kind of also been a downfall, I guess, because you never know who's sticking a knife in your back, and it sucks to have that mentality. Because I've always been straight up real with everybody. Some people don't like that, but never stuck a knife in your back. I say it to your face. Like, you know what I mean?
I feel like that's, and again, that's the more commendable thing. That's like, hey, say it, just do it like that up front, than being the one that's like, oh yeah, this person said this or that person said that.
Yeah,
It's
like, there's been too much hearsay where somebody will say something behind someone's back. And the thing is, Rudy Boy had told me this a long time ago. He's like, if you say anything about anybody, it's going to get back to them.
Yep.
So just kind of keep your mouth closed. But the thing is, with me, I just go directly to them and say it to their face. And then like, yeah, I said this, and now you know. Like, so you don't have to hear it from him or him. Like, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You know. But,
no, and that works. Again, hey, again, like I said, a name that's known around, and there's a reason for it. You do your business, your style, and it's worked out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even with like Ito Ruji in Big Japan, it's like I didn't like him. He didn't like me. I try to be nice with him, but then it's like, hey, dude, after a while, getting light tubes kicked in my face, like, hey, I think you're an asshole. like I don't want to take your stupid frog splash with 30 light tubes on my face. Like, you know, sorry, I'm tired of it. Like,
and there you go. Sometimes you have to take that risk too, because again, you're in a whole other territory right there. You're in foreign land, and it's like you still got to stand up for yourself, because again, that's how people take their advantage.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely will take their liberties. And that's like the thing that goes with Ito. It's like always in the back of my mind, it's like, I know at some point in time we're going to wrestle and it's going to be the United States. I'm going to beat the living hell out of you. And it finally happened at CZW. And like I mean, it's not professional on my part, but you know, the first like minute or two, like we're going to forum exchange, I just light him up and he's like on Dream Street the rest of the match. And it's like, yeah, dude, like, when the promoter's pushing you in reality, real sense, I'd eat you up. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, you'd be on the floor right now getting kicked in the head. But and he knew it. You know, that's kind of more or less like, hey, I'm not pretending to be a tough guy here. It's like, that's just how it is, you know?
No, again, you kind of got to learn it the hard way. Like, karma's going to come back to you. So there you go.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's how it is, you know? It's like, the thing is, like with wrestling is very competitive. You know, a lot of people lose sight of that. It's very competitive on getting your jobs, getting your spots. But the funny thing is, if they actually went more with like realistic heat with the boys of like guys that don't like each other, I think, in my opinion, those make the best matches, because when they go out, they'll put their match together, but they're going to beat the hell out of each other. It's like,
I feel like that would probably draw the biggest way. Like, hey, you're going to see a fight. You don't know anymore what's happening in there, but they're doing something.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I've noticed, my wife and I've noticed, like watching some of the AEW shows, like the guys are laying stuff in. You know, like Matt Hardy wrestled Orange Cassidy, I think it was like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like a tilt-a-whirl DDT, and his nose is just like blood all over the place. And then Malachi Black against Dustin, you know, he busted his lip, and it's like the guys are laying stuff in. And that's the thing too, that I think for the time period when WWE was on top, a lot of people were just like, nah, I'm gonna watch MMA, I'm gonna watch UFC or Bellator because it's real. And but now you watch AEW where they're actually hitting each other. Or even look at Danielson, his chest is all his forehead cut open.
Yeah, he posted a pic from that match on Wednesday, and it's like his chest just looks like it's coming off, and it's like it gives you that realism again, what you're looking for. Like, and again, I feel like that's why people tend to watch that now, because that's what you get from indie wrestling. It's like this isn't just the spot. You're getting to see some battles in there, and that draws people in.
Yeah, that's what really built Ring of Honor's fan base.
Yep.
Because of the strong style wrestling. You guys are going out there beating the hell out of each other.
Yep.
And then a lot of stuff, like people are like, oh, this is new. But if you look in the history of like wrestling, it's really not new. You had Battle Arts in Japan doing that, UFO, Rings, they were doing the work shoot, Pancreas.
Yep.
It's been around for a long time. It's just
definitely.
never been put on a main show in the United States.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like they're bringing that art back. Like, again, you watch like Masada and Kobashi and them, they weren't like just tapping each other. Those were some strikes. And it's like you're finally seeing that on American national television right there. It's like now it's starting to get that art form again and that love for it. Which me as a fan, I'm big on that. Like, even training, my biggest thing was, okay, I want to still make this look like a fight. Like, I'm big on strikes and everything like that. It's like, it's great to see that on television. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think the thing is too, it's like if you go back, like, no, we're doing a lot of time jumping here, but it's like when you go back like the territory days, like it was strong style. And then gradually when Vince took over, a lot of things changed. And I get it. I get why things change, because if you're wrestling 2 to 3 times a day and you're wrestling every day of the week, it's like you got to save your body somehow.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it definitely, it has its ups and downs. I guess at one point it's like, it's to have the length, but it's also like, do you want to keep interest? So I feel like it's still that moment of like, okay, I've seen this before. We're gonna get this spot, drop down, shoulder press. It's like it's stuff that's like, well, when you're in that moment, you're like, holy shit! Like, they're just going at it. Like,
I mean, that's like the thing too. It's like if you go like old school wrestling, even like with my death matches, like I would always do where I would have the gimmick in the guy's head and like try to submit him, and then have the referee check the arm, like 1, 2, and then start firing back up, you know. And people get into that, you know.
No, yeah, it has that story to it. It has that, like, that feeling, that emotion that you want. That's like, okay, I'm invested again. I'm in this. Let's keep it going.
Yeah,
like, if you can do that, you have the crowd right there in your hand.
That's awesome. Like even with the 10 count of the referee, you know, the guy's down, count them. I learned that in Europe, you know. It's like a lot of things with the rules of wrestling in the United States get kind of just whitewashed, and people don't really follow them. So it's like if you don't follow the rules, then the fans really don't follow the rules, so they don't really understand what's going on. But in the UK, it's like when someone's down, if you have, the rule is basically you have 2 seconds to pin them. If you get down less than or more than 2 seconds, you have to get up because it's a 10 count. They're knocked out. That's the rule. So like me not knowing that, I would like slam the guy down, and I would like, and then like I go for the pin, and the ref would be like, no, you gotta get up. Like, what? like okay, I'm getting tired of like going down and getting back up, man. Like after a while, I was like, screw it, I just bump them down and like, okay, count them. Like, you know.
I guess that adds to it too, because it's like now you feel like, okay, it has that like boxing element. That's like, okay, I just really knocked this dude out. Count away.
And the thing is, like, if you get like really deep in depth on storytelling, it's like when I wrestled Kasai in Pain's the Limit 3. He did 3 false finishes in a matter of just like 2 moves. Like I powerbombed through the sheet of glass, which is insane. But then it's like a 10 count. He gets up right at 9 and comes out, cover him 1, 2. He kicks out. Then I powerbomb him for one last time. 1, 2. He kicks out again. Like, holy crap, you know.
And I can imagine the crowd's on their feet because it's like, how?
Oh
like all that, and it's like it's that emotion there. It's raw. It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the cool thing is when people are on the same level with wrestling, like we're gonna tell the story and get it over. And it's like it's great, you know.
No, definitely. And that's what you want. You want that over and to get that reaction from it. That's great. I want to say one story I feel like you were able to tell too was recently with Atticus, the selling of the skewers. Because again, everyone that's seen your deathmatch side, it's like, your trademark is the skewers.
Yeah.
So that story, I feel like, again, that shows even in deathmatch, you can tell a bigger story with it, with him like trying to get, I want to say, I guess your blessing with it, or if not beating it out of you.
I don't really know what the hell that was. Like I still don't even know. Like the thing that sucks is like, so when all that was going on, I went for No Peace Underground in Florida, and I know who Atticus is. Like he used to message me when he first broke in, and then I just wasn't following anything on social media, what was being said or the promos. And now after we already do the match, I've watched some of the promos like, what? Like if I would have known that he was like, don't bring the family, man. I want the UltraViolent Beast. It's like, okay, well, I would have totally came in differently then. Like if I would have known this or watched it. But I gradually just got off social media where I wasn't paying attention to anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, the match was cool. Like Atticus is like one of the guys, like I told him before, it's like I wouldn't mind doing a best 2 out of 3 of just straight up wrestling, then a strong style match, and then do a death match. Or even do something crazy where it's like a skewers on the pole match of like, it could be yours, it could be mine, There's so much stuff you can do, and it's going back to this old school stuff, old school gimmicks.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, it was cool. I mean, working with him was cool. Because you get to see somebody who's like a big fan, and then like what he's doing now, it's awesome.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I feel like maybe there's something left there, I guess, from your side of it that you still would like to keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Awesome.
If it makes money and people are into it, it's like for sure, but there's like a lot more stuff that could be done, So.
Definitely. I don't want to take up too much more of your time here. So I have one last thing I always bring up with everybody here is, what's the end goal? Be it wrestling, be it in life. What's your end goal for all this?
Well, I mean, ultimately it's be happy, and like right now I'm happy. For a period of time, like in wrestling, I just wasn't happy. So I took a break from it, got married, got sober, sober for over a year and a half, which is great. Because after a while, just dealing with people, like, and just, you can't trust people. So my outlet was just drinking and then being in pain, which is really a lame excuse because I have a pretty high tolerance threshold of pain. But I think more or less for me is just dealing with people and just gradually getting off that crap, because anybody that suffers from alcoholism or drug addiction, like, really should get help. And you got to really find what makes you happy, what your purpose on this earth's for. Because with me in wrestling, it's like, I said everything with like wrestling, became one of those obsessed people where it's like, oh, it's got to be this, there's nothing besides wrestling for me. And then once you realize there is, and it's like, it's easy to just like, well, I don't need this crap. I don't need a drink. I don't need to numb out any kind of like pain or like any kind of mental thing of like, well, why don't these people want me? Any of that kind of stuff. So I went through a lot of that, and, just gradually just getting back into what I'm doing now. But as far as like wrestling goes, like I'm happy because promoters are reaching out to me. The word gets out. It's like, he's sober now. He's easier to deal with, which I don't think I was ever hard to deal with. I just, certain things, if I didn't agree with it, it's just like, well, that doesn't make sense. Or like, I think on the back ends, like, I'm going to get screwed over on this and you're writing me off. So I'm not going to do it. But, you got to kind of like power play a bit, you got to know what your cards are. But ultimately in wrestling, it's just be the best you can be, in my opinion. I always want to be known as the best hybrid wrestler. And I wanted to be on the main stage of like showing that, because I'm 40 now. Pretty soon I'm not going to be doing this much longer. And I'm realistic about that, but just, be the best, that's the whole reason of getting in the business, is be the best, work with the best guys, and have respect and be known. You know what I mean? That's one of the things I always find it very cool and interesting. Like, there's a box right here that has like tons of magazines and books that have been in, Germany, Japan, England, Mexico, and maybe 3 or 4 PWI magazines. Like, for me, it's like there should be a lot more PWI magazines, especially being an American, But like I said, main goal is just, break it out and start doing things and showing people what I can do and what I was doing back in the 90s, 99 when I broke in. And if things get switched up to doing hardcore matches or death matches, be the best at that too,
Awesome. There you have it, guys. Thank you again, Masada, for coming on. I know you're not that big into social media right now, but if they want to find you, where can they?
They can go to Brigham Paul Dome Masada on my Facebook, or they can go to Official Masada on Instagram, Exile Artifacts on Facebook and Instagram. Or you can also go on Twitter, which I'm never on that. I think Twitter is kind of, and I don't have time for it. Like there's an official Masada Twitter, but you won't see anything on there rarely. Like,
yeah, I
like
think when I was
really,
looking for it, because I put all the links down below. When I was looking, I'm like, okay, the last thing that was retweeted was like in 2017. So I'm like, I don't think he's using this, but I'll put it down there anyway.
I mean, I just honestly, I just don't have time. And the thing is, the wife is the one that really runs my social media accounts now, because like, I'm constantly working, it's like lately right now, it's like I've actually started dieting, hitting the weights, getting back in the ring and training and getting back to working out the ring rust. Because the pandemic, I really did actually develop ring rust, which is crazy because I never had that before. But when you take a year, almost a year and a half off, it's like, okay, like I'm older now. I need to lubricate my joints or something. I need to do something to get back in shape,
Definitely.
I mean, that's what I'm doing. And then on top of that, doing custom orders. So I don't really have much time to be on social media plugging stuff. I occasionally do, but not as much as I used to.
No, gotcha. Hey, it's a good time. Like, yeah, it's a good reason to be busy. Like it's a lot of actual important stuff as well than just be on social media scrolling for no reason. So that works.
Yeah. I mean, like, think it was like with Instagram. I like Instagram. Like back in the day, I used to love like going on there and checking out people's artwork and like other weapon makers and craftsmen. I always enjoyed doing that. There's like a one artist, I forget his name on Instagram, but he's from the UK, and he literally can take marbles and he can carve them into skulls, and it's just the dimensions and the cracks and like, how does he do that? It's insane. And he sells them for like $600 a pop. And it's like, that's like a marble from like the Dollar Tree. Like, you know what I mean? But
hey, I guess it works.
People are buying it. Hey, I've been tempted to buy them, but it's like, God, $600 and it's a marble, but nah. Like, I'll give him a like. Like, I'll like his Instagram.
There you go. Awesome. But thank you again, Masada. Thank you guys for watching. Please, as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the follow on Twitch as well. And also go to the links down below, follow Masada, follow the guests, and support, guys. As always, don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, and be better people. Love you all, and we'll talk on the next one. Peace.
Thanks, guys.